Oh, and good evening. It's October 14th, 2025. We're continuing our discussion collection, our Outside the Class series. This series, from the Bible Project, covers the entire TaNaK, the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Those source videos are available for your review on TheDustyFeet.com in the Outside the Class section. The intent of Outside the Class is for you to listen to the in-class lecture first. These we try to keep to about 15 minutes and make them easy to catch up on. So we're on a quest, scroll by scroll, book by book, a journey through this collection, just maybe with a fun and different twist. Our hope with the Dusty Feed is to foster discussion and help build and support communities. If you are not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. DustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Facebook, at The Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. And 3. We have a Discord channel. The invite link is there below. Be vocal, be written, be loving. And 4, and as always, you are welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated, and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on the Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. And before we forget, if you find these kinds of podcasts useful, so when you click that subscribe button, those reminders, they're just there to help you. Also, if you think these might be useful to others, please, that's when you click that like button, because that is how YouTube chooses to share these to more people if they wish. So remember, in this series, we're going to cover the entire TaNaK, right, the Old Testament. We're going to do it in the original order of the Hebrew Scriptures. Remember, the videos we're going to discuss, they're just the tip of the iceberg. They're part of a learning series I highly recommend, and all of them can be found on the Bible Project website. So we're going to ask many questions about all kinds of things. The answers? We'll see. Samuel, first scroll, so part 26. So remember, Saul has returned from pursuing the Philistines, and he's been told that David's in the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul gathers 3,000 men from his army in Israel, and they take off to chase down David. Right? So much for the promises in that mushy scene we just had earlier. Then he gets to the rocks of the wild goats. He gets to a point by the sheepfolds, an interesting part that probably shouldn't be lost on the picture that David is here amongst the sheepfolds. So that's probably a connection, thought echo that we'll probably look at down the line at another time. But we get to chapter 24, starting in verse 3. He came to the sheepfolds on the way, this is Saul, where there was a cave, and Saul went to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the inner recesses of the cave. The men of David said to him, "Behold, this is the day which the Lord said to you, Behold, I am about to give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do with him it seems good to you." Then David arose, and he secretly cut off the edge of Saul's robe. And it came about afterward that David's conscience bothered him because he had cut off the edge of Saul's robe. So he said to his men, "Far be it from me because of the Lord that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed one, to stretch out my hand against him, since he is the Lord's anointed." So David persuaded his men with these words, did not allow them to rise against Saul. Saul arose, left the cave, went on his way. So it appears that in this chase that Saul stops, goes into the cave to do his business, and David and his men, they're hiding in there. They're in the back, right? He has no idea, or I don't even know if it's all 600 or just a group of men? We just know that there's men in there and they're hiding in the back. And while he's there, the men that are with him, they say, there's Saul. We can take care of this right now. You can go over, take care of Saul, and all of this that we're going through, it stops. And here we get another glimpse into David's character, where we see him in this one, maybe in a little bit of a struggle. Yet even with that struggle, I think maybe there's even another struggle. We'll see. But first, he decides, I don't want to kill Saul. So I'll just sneak up, get close enough to him. I'll cut off part of his robe. So he does that. And he goes back to his guys. Then he has this pang of conscience, right? Because David still realizes that until God makes the final call, Saul is still God's anointed. He's still the king. As far as David's concerned, God has not told him to end Saul's life. So, maybe for us personally, I wouldn't be too harsh, and it wouldn't be too hard a stretch for us to go, hey, he tried to kill us no less than 3 times. He's definitely chased us all over the place. So maybe think we would somehow, in our mind, probably feel justified that, yeah, we can do this. End it. After all, in his head, in David, one could say, we get a line from Harry Potter, right? I am the chosen one. But David turns, and his conscience gets him, and he convinces his men, this is not the place nor the time. God has not deemed it so, and it's not by my hand. Yet as Saul wanders out, he's strolling back, and David steps out of the cave. It's a dramatic scene. Maybe you could picture it cinematically, right? As the figure walks away, the shadow of the cave in the background, emerging from the shadow on the edge, this figure appears. It's David. And we notice it in his hands. He has what looks like a rag, but it's actually probably beautiful, as it's colorful. Definitely has the possibility of being ornate, which might be out of place in the place he's at, and given his expression as he's holding in his hand. So David calls out to Saul. Starts in verse 8. Now afterward, David arose, went out of the cave, calling after Saul, saying, My lord the king. And Saul looked behind him. David bowed his face to the ground. He prostrated himself. And then David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of men, saying, Behold, David seeks to harm you? Behold, this day your eyes have seen that the Lord has given me to you today. Look into my hand in the cave. And some said, Kill you. But my eye had pity on you, and I said, I will not stretch out my hand against the Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Now, my father, see, indeed, see the edge of your robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the edge of your robe, and I did not kill you. So know and perceive that there is no evil or rebellion in my hands, and I have not sinned against you, though you were lying in wait for my life to take it. May the Lord judge between you and me. May the Lord avenge me on you. But my hand shall not be against you. As the proverbs of the ancients say, out of the wicked comes forth wickedness, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom are you pursuing? A dead dog, a single flea? The Lord therefore be judge and decide between you and me. And may he see and plead my cause and deliver me from your hand. I think David does something here that should really give us pause to stop and listen. Because I thought about this. And if you had your life threatened, directly, by having spears thrown at you and they're just not hitting the mark, having threats hurled your way, believing them to be true, and then on top of that, being pursued by this person, how would you respond? For me, to be honest, I'm not as big a man as David is. Even if I felt the pangs of, well, maybe I shouldn't kill you, but I'll cut off a piece of your robe and now we're going to talk. And then as I walk out, I'm holding this cloth in my hand and I might even say, hey, look what I got. Please take a moment to consider how close I was to you. Let that sink in. What does David do? David calls out to Saul, my Lord, as in master, right? The king. And then David bows his face to the ground. He prostrates himself. He takes a subservient pose, even if he shouldn't. We haven't had a formal official call stating that he's not the captain of any guard, although it's probably assumed. Yet he still is the son-in-law to the king. He calls Saul father. There's so much in this interaction. But David has let it out. I could have killed you. I chose not to. But the reason I chose not to was because I pitied you. And I will not stretch out my hand against this anointed one, for he is the Lord's anointed one. But David continues to point out, what have I done against you? What have I done to give you any basis for your want not only to seek me out, but put me to death? What wickedness have I bestowed upon you? Am I one that you would chase and treat like a dead dog or fleas? To be fair, in a way, David's laying it all out on the table. Everybody within hearing range is hearing this. We don't know how many people heard this. But still, I suspect that those who heard this conversation, well, it's going to make its way through their camps. Both David's camp, of course, which is much smaller, and there's a good chance it'll also make its way through, it's going to make it through Saul's camp. But Saul does what we've already seen before. We've seen this in movies. So many times. I think we're almost desensitized to it. There are some negotiations and the bad guy kind of takes a step back and says, well, okay, I won't do that. But nobody believes that in the story. So I'm going to pick it up here. Verse 16. When David had finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, is this your voice, my son David? Saul lifted up his voice and he wept. And he said to David, you're more righteous than I, for you have dealt well with me, while I have dealt wickedly with you. You have declared today that you have done good to me, that the Lord delivered me into your hand, and yet you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he not let him go away safely? May the Lord therefore reward you with good in return for what you have done to me this day. Now behold, I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hand. So now Swear to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's household. So David swore to Saul, and Saul went to his home, but David and his men, they went up to the stronghold. They both go their ways. And I suspect maybe neither really believes the other, but the actions of David for the moment have brought a temporary truce. Next week, we're going to take a closer look at Saul's response and also the control and the manipulation that he's still trying to exert over everything. So thanks again for being with us tonight on another episode of the First Scroll of Samuel with Outside the Class on the Dusty Feet.